Hi, everybody. Welcome to my Only Chads, where you get only Chad all the time, reading you today's hot entertainment business news stories. Oh, yeah. It's like ASMR, except not sexy. So let's get to it. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. OnlyFans is for. Oh my god! You guys are paying $5 to see me do that stuff? Well, if it does pay the big bucks, here we go. I don't want to do this.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the Journalism is Dead? Or is it? News that you didn't know about. Journalism is one of the most dangerous jobs in the entertainment industry, right up there with doing stunts and crafty. If you don't believe me, have you seen Scarlett Johansson when she doesn't get her handful of talked over almonds?
You're such a dick!
I love that joke. Journalists have to deal with a flurry of problems, be it ignorant police who arrest them or accidental macing or any manner of doing their jobs. Journalists have to put up with a lot of crap in order to get the true story of what's happening to you, the viewer. I know this because I was a journalist. Not a good one, but who's counting? The media landscape, my bank account, the media landscape has rapidly evolved in the last few years. 24-hour news channels became unreliable as they grew in popularity. The internet is less a place for facts than it is a place for opinion. Everything's a think piece. I miss the days when Walter Cronkite would lull us to sleep with the doldrums of his throaty voice. I'll always remember where I was when he broke the news about Lyndon B. Johnson. Such a good broadcast. Don't ask me how old I am. Really, though, Cronkite ushered viewers through so many eras of journalism, a professor could probably teach a class about his works. Today's journalism is different. All information is available 24/7 at our fingertips. How are the people that report the news supposed to differentiate themselves from the people that aren't paid to but report the news anyway? Newsrooms are changing rapidly, slimming down and getting rid of amazing talent. 2020 saw the loss of over 16,000 jobs in the industry. Losses haven't been that high since 2008. On top of that, the industry seems to be battling for relevancy. Readers and viewers are skeptical of sources they don't like. Notice how I said like and not trust. Those with negative feelings towards the New York Times, for instance, blame the failures of single editors or reporters on the entire paper. The Tom Cotton debacle from the summer of 2020, aka Pandemic Summer, which may or may not be the name of my new band, single coming out soon, is not the fault of the entire paper. In fact, when the hammer came down, many of the paper's writers condemned their employer for publishing such drivel in the first place. Heck, the op-ed editor Barry Weiss stepped down soon after the fact. Under the scrutiny of the public, journalism has to change for its own sake. And if it doesn't, journalists now have other places to go. Substack is one such breeding ground for news-driven people. It's a newsletter platform where writers can write about whatever they want and send it to subscribers who pay as low as $5 a month to read it. Think Patreon, but all email spam. While it's true anyone can join the platform to make money, bigger names are bringing their own audiences. Casey Newton, a tech writer for The Verge, left the site in 2020 for Substack, and he's best known for The Interface, which is also a newsletter, meaning that he is indeed a one-trick pony. Obviously, he's not the only person to make the leap. Journalists from Rolling Stone, BuzzFeed, Vox, and others jumped onto the 3-year-old startup platform. The kicker to these writers leaving is that they can actually make big bucks. Conservative newsletter The Dispatch is raking in almost $2 million a year this year, with only 18,000 probably white paying subscribers out of 100,000, again, probably white. However, The Dispatch is basically a small company with close to 20 writers of the fairer skin. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a small conglomerate to make money. Heather Cox Richardson proves just that with her some 350,000 subscribers Even if some of her work is free, a good amount of people probably still subscribe, so she's most likely making a pretty penny. This is after the normal percentages are taken. The creators of Substack are Hamish McKenzie, Chris Best, and Jiraj Sethi. Until last year, they were the only people working there. Now they're running what very well may be the future of journalism. The company now employs 18 people and even fought off an acquisition by Twitter. The original three creators initially drew in $15 million from investors who, in 2019, saw the potential of a non-connected media outlet as it continued to draw in established writers. At that point, it doubled its subscribers in under a year. McKenzie, who used to work in journalism, like me, reiterates that even with all the success, the site will not run ads, remaining focused on subscriptions for revenue. So far, Substack seems to be doing everything right. They even started a legal fund for their writers because, hey, sometimes something is said that could be considered defamation. Trust me, I know. Why do you think I don't make jokes about Matt Damon? He's very litigious. Prior to that, they also introduced a grant during the pandemic to help cash-strapped writers. So far, Substack sounds like a journalist's dream. It's a media company without all the politics, except for when the writers write about politics. Look, there's no BS here. And you can tell I'm serious because I said BS when I could have said shit, but this isn't that kind of show. No company, however, is free from mistakes. Just look at the court case back in September where I represented C+ Comedy after Matt Damon said, "We've got to stop making We Bought a Zoo jokes." During pandemic summer, the EP's really good, guys, I swear. Some naive fool using the support email used CC instead of BCC, revealing the emails of hundreds of users. Okay, no big deal. A bunch of nobodies' emails were, Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, D. Ray McKesson, and Evan Spiegel were part of that group. Like I said, a bunch of nobodies. Yes, distributing those emails was a bad move. Still, it's the worst thing they've done. And it was an accident. Think of what they can do on purpose. Plus, Substack is bowing out of moderation. The company's founders believe readers will self-moderate along with the writers. They also believe readers won't subscribe to a writer they don't agree with, which they're wrong because I wrote an anti-Matt Damon newsletter in May called I Hate the Zoo, and most of my baker's dozen of subscribers pay just to tell me how bad my writing is, so there. Without criticism from the top, can Substack and its writers push fair work without it infringing on First Amendment rights? Because we know white racists love pointing that out. Just look at what happened at the Capitol last week or whatever that shit Parler is trying to be. Right now, Substack is the future of journalism, but it doesn't have to be. Vice Media is pulling a wild move and steering hard into the skid that is sex positivity. They're starting an OnlyFans for their Munchies brand. Still pretty sexy if you ask me. If you don't know what OnlyFans is, open incognito mode on your browser and search for it. And if you do know what it is, what are you doing watching this video? There's OnlyFans out there to watch. The gist of it is Patreon, but porn. For $5 a month, users can get access to watch videos of people doing sexy things. In the case of Vice Munchies, which is the second single from Pandemic Summer's self-titled debut album, coming out soon, I promise, guys, users get exclusive videos. Of course, OnlyFans, just like Patreon, wasn't created just for a porny existence. It just veered into that direction. Then there's the whole unreliable sector of media. As I mentioned before, journalists are under intense scrutiny from so many sides. There's whoever owns the publication, editors, their peers, readers, fans, their own mothers, and let me tell you, journalists' mothers are the worst critics of them all. The old great lady herself, the New York Times, is constantly under fire. Just this past Christmas, the paper caught flack because a week prior, its famed and lauded podcast, Caliphate, was found to have an unreliable narrator and one of its main stars. To fix and explain why they have to retract the story, the paper thought it best to allow Michael Barbaro, host and producer of the biggest news podcast around the Daily, to interview one half of the producing team from Caliphate and Dean Backwet, who would explain what happened. However, more important information was not disclosed. Barbaro is involved with the other half of Caliphate producing's team, Lisa Tobit. As good as a journalist he might be, Barbaro can never exactly be objective in this case. He proved as much when, as other outlets were reporting the retraction, he reached out to the journalists from those outlets asking them not to use the word retract, which is what the Times exactly did because most of the story is made up. Just admit the failure and move on. That's what I did after I lost the $6 million lawsuit and $7 million countersuit against Matt Damon. He basically owns me now, and it's not slavery. At least I don't think it is. He does call me boy a lot, to come to think of it. One-third of Substack's creators, Chris Best, has appeared all over the tech business podcast circuit to talk about the company's media revolution. He says they're not out to finish off what came before them. He just believes that readers will really think about supporting their favorite writers directly. One note about Substack or any other news media: those that reject the old ways often return to them. Casey Newton left The Verge and is doing very well. Still, his reach can only go so far. 20,000 dedicated readers might pay the bills and then some, but him being able to get a scoop from Apple, Microsoft, Dell, or breaking a news story or covering a major event may never happen again. That only comes with non-premium services or being represented by the likes of a big publication. Substack, along with Cameo, Patreon, OnlyFans, and Twitch, had their strongest year in 2020. They point to a future where users own what they make, but only so many people will pay. Subscription fatigue is on the way. Look at streaming. Who the heck is paying for Discovery Plus? The old gray lady? For now, Substack will rise. As long as traditional media doesn't change, it will continue to grow. Check out these two headlines. One from the Times and the other is from the Hartford Courant. Both are similar and mention the same details. Also, both have the same writer and were published the same week. And when you scroll to the bottom of the Courant, you can see oh my gosh, it's owned by the New York Times company? I see all the media is basically the same. Why do we even try if the New York Times owns part of everything and Vox owns everything else? Well, not me. Damon owns me. But speaking of things he does not own, he does not own your ability to subscribe and check out one of the other videos. Of course, you can head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there will be more interviews with your favorite comedians in the upcoming new year. You can follow us on Twitter at cpluscomedy and Instagram at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionals podcast, literally wherever you get your podcasts. And what's that, Mr. Damon? I gotta get back to work? All right. Swing low, sweet Damon.